My name is Joy. I'll be discussing about the stolen generations with a focus of Robert, Gilbert, and Griffith's experience. Before I begin, I would like to do acknowledgement of country. I acknowledge the traditional custodians of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation on the land which we meet today. I would also like to pay my respects to elders past and emerging. Listening is important when we talk to others, where the article titled The Pedagogy of Listening, The Listening Perspective from Reggio Emilia by Carla Rinaldi explores listening by deeply understanding the message that is being conveyed through an open mind, where we are not being judgmental, respecting different perspectives and accepting for who they are. It also outlines about listening to a person's stories through all senses, reflecting on their personal experiences and how it connects to our memories. When I was listening to the experiences of Robert, Gilbert, and Griffith during the stolen generations, I felt devastated and sad for them, that they had to deal with this traumatic event where they lost their identity, culture, connection to the land, where they were forcibly removed from their families. According to the United Nations Conventions on the Rights of the Child, their rights were denied, leading to exclusion. This had a significant impact in their lives which can never be recovered and is still affecting many Indigenous people today, such as the treatment of Black against white people, where their rights were limited or denied. I do have some basic knowledge regarding Aboriginal perspectives, but I do not fully understand the historical events that they had experienced which had caused so much trauma and impact on their culture, identity, and reconnection to the land and communities. When Robert, Gilbert, and Griffith were telling their stories, I used factual, empathetic, and generative listening, which is explored in Waddington Azambuja's article titled Moving from Storytelling to Story Listening. These levels of listening would allow me to deeply listen, connect, and understand the main message of the story to avoid any misunderstanding, and allows us to get to know each other through multiple perspectives. When Robert, Gilbert, and Griffith was telling their stories about the trauma during the stolen generations, I used factual listening as I already had some knowledge regarding the stolen generations, but was interesting to know the intergenerational trauma they had been through was quite different to what I perceived it as. We will not fully understand their experiences and the impact they had experienced unless we are listening to the story in a deep way. Empathetic listening was when I was engaged, as it made me feel connected through their emotions like it was real, which was a way to understand their experiences. We cannot imagine the tortures and trauma that Robert, Gilbert, and Griffith experienced, as they were forced to do chores, and if not listened to, they would get punished. In the video, we can tell from the emotions that they were very traumatized, broken, and distressed when telling the story, as they were not treated as humans but more as labor workers, as they had to do chores. The story being told was to advocate and raise awareness about what they had been through. Generative listening was somehow being used when they explained the punishments, disrespect by the white people and treating the Indigenous children in this way. When listening to this story, I was being open-minded and not judgmental by trying to understand what they had been through. There was a potential bias that challenged me to think that there was a difference on what I assumed the stolen generations to be, what it actually was. The Indigenous children had to be brought into a white family, which is showing a bias of skin color, which challenged their identity and culture and questioning why they were being picked on due to skin color. The part of the clip that impacted me the most was where I was heartbroken to see the pain that Robert, Gilbert, and Griffith experienced during the stolen generations. The white people treated them with no trust and respect, and as they were informed about their parents' death, but in reality, they met their mum later on, which was challenging to reconnect. It was challenging to reconnect as their identity was taken away, as they did not know who they were. This was completely new, and I was shocked that Indigenous children were treated in this way with no sense of privilege and rights. Based on what I saw and learned throughout the clip, I would be an inclusive teacher by allowing everyone to have the right to be heard, listening to their stories where we connect, open to differences by allowing children to express themselves. When we connect and implement experiences, we are able to understand the trauma that Indigenous children have experienced and allow them to have access and participate. In my current teaching practice, I am willing to develop deeper partnerships with families, children, and communities to understand more about their cultures and traditions, not just Indigenous perspectives. When we have more understanding and acceptance, we can plan experiences by celebrating each cultural tradition based on children's backgrounds, which promotes an anti-bias curriculum and inclusion to allow each child to have the right to participate, reflecting on their identity. It allows me to teach children about value and being open to different perspectives and ideas from different kinds of people. My practice of being an inclusive teacher connects to the video of Dadiri, where we are listening to everyone's perspectives and stories, and from that, it can link to other people's personal experiences, where we accept everyone for who they are, and conducting a slow pedagogy of practice, where we're slowly listening and present at that moment to avoid any biases or misunderstandings.